move on to that match, we asked you to participate in our conversation here in the studio by using the hashtag #AskThorin on Twitter. And there's a bunch of guys who has asked Thorin something. So you have some tweets for us,
Yeah,
Scoots?
I do have one. This came from, where'd he go? Ben Mitchell, who goes by Mitchy Benny. And his question to you is, how do you think LGB matches up against NIP? On your podcast, you mentioned that teams from the same country, you know, practice a lot versus each other, and that has a certain effect. So being two Swedes, how do you think that'll play?
Now, what's interesting here is that is the classic thing. That's why upsets happen at regional qualifiers. Because first of all, they're the team ahead of you. You're the ones chasing them. So you're studying them every game. They're watching every NIP game. NIP isn't watching games of LGB. They're just out there going like, okay, well, if we ever play them, then we'll study them, okay. So again, you've got like, actually the knowledge advantage goes to the lower team there. Secondly, there's the familiarity. Maybe you scrim them every week. Maybe even if they beat you, okay, you're getting an idea of what their strengths are. You can prepare something secret. Whereas teams who only play each other, like iBuyPy playing Universal Soldiers here, this might be the first time they've ever played that team.
Yeah.
They don't have time, the familiarity to know this. You see how an upset can form just from this familiarity. So what would be interesting here is everyone's going to say, oh, don't worry, if NIP win, you know, LGB, they don't have a chance. You know, NIP will just steamroll them. No, because as we saw with Very Games losing to Clan Mystic, that's the kind of thing. There's these regional matchups, they have all these factors. And actually, I have a factor when I was looking at the maps, which is, okay, LGB, we saw them superlative on Inferno. They crushed Mystic on it, where that was their best map, and they just beat Very Games. So this impressive result. Well, NIP likes to play Inferno a lot, but that's one of the maps they also have lost quite a few times on. That's like their third or fourth best map. So they're willing to play you on it, and it's a map they can lose on. So that's giving you a chance right there. When I say that, though, when you're an all-time great team, the greatest team ever, your worst maps might still be better than someone else's best maps. Yeah. So it's it's like their third or fourth best map. I think their win rate's like 87% over the history of CSGO.
All right. Continue sending us your questions at #AskThorin. We're going to move on to our next match, which is NIP versus Universal Soldiers, and we're going to take a look at a team presentation for NIP.
Okie doke. So NIP, the most famous team in CSGO. So we'll start with the most famous people. Forrest, some people call him the greatest player ever. He's one of those guys where I don't mind which way you go on that argument. If you think it's Forrest, okay. People often used to say in CS 1.6, his peak was higher than anyone else's peak, you know. It's so high. Get right, like I said before, this guy could have maybe been the greatest player in 1.6. He didn't have the time though, but now he's having his prime in CSGO, and he's been the best player for me in all of CSGO. Dipped a little bit recently, but he can be the best in the whole world. It's up to him, you know. If his game's on, he's the best. Fifth Lauren, the ultimate utility player. People criticize him a lot. I find it hard to criticize someone until you really do badly. Their idea of doing badly is like, oh, we finished fourth this time, guys. It's really terrible. It's like, if that's your worst result, I'm not so sure you kick the guy out immediately. Let's wait and see how this works out. Let's see if you win this tournament, you know. Freiburg, because he's a saucer, he never really got the credit early on. He's shown himself to be a great entry man. I think he's a guy with a lot of spunk, a lot of drive. Like, he has the confidence of some of these other guys. Exist is kind of, I call him like the Neo Khan. And when I do say Neo, don't think of the Polish player. I mean, like, he's like the new Khan. He's got some fragging skills, but he's subdued it a bit to have like a loose in-game calling style, but he doesn't try and force them, you know. He lets the stars be the stars. All
right, and we're gonna hear from Exist and what thoughts he has on the upcoming match down at the tournament floor.
All right, so thanks a lot here. Of course, we've got Exist here with us. He's going to kind of talk about what happened during the last game. You're facing off against Recursive. What Anders had told me is that you started off extremely strong. Where were you at, and what happened at that point?
Yeah, we started out like 14-5 lead, and then we had a 3-on-2 situation after plant on B. And we should have won that, but there was some bad communication, and we lost it. And from that point, we lost like 5 or 6 rounds in a row. Then we managed to win one round, and then we lost some more, and then we managed to seal the deal and win the match.
So based off of traditional group play, we used to look at a lot of the round-based things. Does that come into picture here, knowing that you just need to win the game opposed to having to win all the rounds?
I mean, we should have won the match earlier, but I think it's good for us to win a close match rather than winning with a stomp. I think it's better for our mentality, and it's better for us.
So going into this next matchup now, you're here in the winner's bracket here in this Group B. What do you need to do next facing off a team like Universal Soldiers?
The Polish guys, they play very aggressive. They have an aggressive play style. They have good individual players, so we need to start good and keep it up.
So have you had the chance yet to go through the map list and decide what map you're going to be playing on?
Yeah, we're going to play Inferno, and we're going to start as terrorist.
So what are some of the things that you're going to be looking out for on a Universal Soldier side that are going to help you go into this this map? If you want to say, because I know we've got our other guy right here.
I don't know. We just have to play a better terrorist half this time, because we got like 3 rounds less, or 5 or whatever. We need to get more terrorist rounds.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Good luck during your game. You know, whenever we sit there, it's been great. And so let's go ahead and send it back up there to the studio. And so here we've got Exist coming up here in just a moment.
All right, so we just learned that NIP is starting as T on Inferno. They just had problems as T on Inferno against, at least on paper, a weaker team. Guys, how do you see this one, Scoots?
Can we not call this one? This one might be too close to call.
It's not like you guys are right anyway.
In their favor, if you will, is they just played the map. And Universal Soldiers did not, obviously, right? I think it's going to be a hell of a match. I really, really do. I mean, this is like Clash of the Titans. This is the kind of stuff why we're here. I am picking Nip though.
Let's take a look at the Universal Soldiers lineup.
Okie doke. So I'll mix it up a bit this time. Okay, the newest member, the guy who's still got a lot to prove, Bayali. Snacks. I won't go the route I did before. He actually was considered quite a promising player. Like, here's a little secret piece of information. He's actually a player that the Poles wanted to recruit and thought about when they were thinking about removing a player in the past. But then they kept that old lineup because it was so storied, and they really wanted to let it run its course. So he might have actually been like a Pasha and had his time, gotten blooded early, and maybe he could have become a Pasha-type player. You know the other players, the 3 from the second Golden 5 era, and there's Universal Soldiers.
All right, and we're going to head on down to the tournament floor to have a little chat with the most golden guy from the Golden 5, Neo.
All right, appreciate that. Thanks, BSL. Now we're down here with Neo. We watched that last matchup there against iBuyPower. You came out. It's actually really interesting to me. The fact is you lost pistol round, and then you won the second round. How'd that happen?
We just did good strategy. Like, we played a standard like default setup, and then we've seen what they've been doing, and then we just stopped them. So we usually lose second rounds after winning pistol rounds. This time it was different. So we were happy about that. That gave us a boost of motivation after the winning eco round.
So what was some of the trends? What are the things that you saw happen time and time again from iBuyPower there whenever they were on the terrorist side?
They've won gun rounds only going through the middle, so we knew we have to focus on the middle first and then just see how it goes. So we just tried to stick to that, and it worked pretty well. So
let's go ahead and jump into the second half there. We saw your aggressive playing style there on the terrorist side. Did you notice there was a weakness there?
Not really. We just tried to start with our default style, the aggressive one, and since it's been working pretty well, so we decided to keep doing that. And we should have finished the game earlier, but still we are satisfied of the result.
Yeah, so we heard Exist say the exact same thing, that they should have finished off the game earlier. Does it make you feel a little bit better knowing that NIP facing off against Recursive, it went to 16-13 there at the end?
Not really. I think it doesn't matter that much. We know they are a very strong team, and it's not going to be easy. So their result doesn't matter.
So looking at it, going into this next matchup, what do you see, what do you think that you need to do against NIP going forward?
We just have to be 100% focused and play our game, and have some luck, of course. Otherwise, it's going to be hard.
So I'm going to talk about one moment. I don't know if Pasha told you about it, but over there on Catwalk, there's a smoke grenade that popped, and there's 3 players. Whenever he picked up those 3 kills, did he tell you how that happened during that moment?
I was dead already, and I was watching it from his perspective. So, yeah, that was really amazing round for him.
So a little bit of luck, right? That's what you need. So sometimes that does help you pan out. So let's go ahead. Do you have any last things that you want to say?
No, just have fun watching.
Well, good luck, have fun, and right back to the studio, guys.
Thank you, Corey. We're going to have some minutes here before the match will start. So we're going to talk a little bit about history, because there is so much history between these two teams, or at least some of the players and the most famous players of these two teams. Duncan, can you give us some insight into the most important storylines between Get Right Forest, Neo, and Taz?
Yeah. I mean, those four players in particular, so those two dynamic duos. First of all, we referenced this match earlier, actually. When the 2009 Fnatic era, okay, this team, Fnatic, the famous story about them was they never used to win the major tournaments before they had Get Right. They used to always win all the medium tournaments. Everyone would be like the best team in the world, first, third, second, first. Then when it came to the big major tournament, they'd only won something like one. And meanwhile, the Poles, terribly inconsistent, 8th, 13th, 7th, 5th. They would always win the majors. It was like inverted teams. And that's because of the makeups of the teams, you know. One was like not so skilled, but really good at these amazing comebacks and somehow doing it in the big moment. The other one was so incredibly skilled, maybe not always as clutch, but just the skill carried them through to all these wins. Now, one year, Fnatic 2009, they had it all. They had such a dominant run that they won the first major of the year, the IEM, okay. And in the final of the IEM, they met the Poles, the Golden Five, the first one, who'd won all these majors. And this time, they bested them. They beat them in the final, and that started the Fnatic 2009 era. Fnatic won practically everything that year. Then came the last major of the year, World Cyber Games. None of these Swedish players had ever won a World Cyber Games. The Poles, they'd already won them before. It came to this final, we mentioned before, it was an epic game. Somehow the Poles won. People forget, the first map was impossible to win. I'll tell you the storyline. Nuke was an incredibly CT-sided map, okay. I think Fnatic were at something ridiculous, like 15 to 12 or something. Something insane like that. And they had an incredible CT team. They had all this skill, Gox, Get Right, amazing Nuke players. You can't win this scenario. Here's the storyline that actually happened. The Poles told me this. What happened was their tactics weren't working. So what they said was, okay, just play free-for-all style. They didn't even communicate. They just said, like, I'm going to go to the, I'm going to go out the squeaky door. Okay, well, I'll go ramp, and then I'll kill this guy out rock, and then how can you read that, though? If that works, then you don't know. Oh, they're attacking me at the door. It's going to be an upper. No, it isn't, because they don't know what they're going to do. And somehow, through the magic of this team, they won the game. They took that title away from them. So that started off the amazing history there. You see, like, they go back and forwards.
Do you chalk that up to chemistry between the players?
There was just something. There's certain teams where on paper they look incredible, and then in the server they're just not so good. There's other teams where you look on paper and you're like, okay, it's a decent team. But then when you look in the server, you're like, this is better. I don't understand on paper.
Yeah.
Not as skilled, but somehow more than the sum of their parts. That was the ultimate team there. I always thought for all the great teams, they had the least actual raw skill of them. Sure, Neo makes up for that in one person, but across the team, you know, they didn't have a whole load of star players, but they could just get it done, man. Everyone had their role.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting, where the storyline gets interesting there, is that the Poles actually dominated that specific matchup from there on out. Because then, Forest and Get Right, they had this... In 2010, neither team was really on top. It was Navi's year. They were all taking a backseat. 2011, here's what's interesting, okay. Early on, the Poles were dominating SK. Then in the middle of the year, SK got Delpan, and so the Forest and Get Right combo, they were the best team of the year for the middle part. It looked like they've got it locked up, team of the year. At the end, the Poles came in, beat them in every matchup in a row. They beat them in the E-Stars final. They beat them in, let me think, of a whole bunch of finals. And crucially, the WCG final, another game impossible to win. Third map, it was Tuscan. Tuscan was an incredibly T-sided map. And they were on CT side, and they were down something like, I think it was 12 to 12. So there was only 6 rounds remaining in the game. And they were like really low on money. And basically, in that scenario, you should lose because it's such a T-sided map. Again, they come back, they won 16-14. See the same storyline happening again. These amazing players, Neo and Forest, Get Right and Forest, were always there with the talent. But then in the big moment, sometimes they couldn't always do it. And then the other players, the Poles, somehow always came through.
I think, just while we're still on the topic of these guys, the Golden Five, there is no set of players in the history of Counter-Strike that has been more screwed over by more team organizations and still kicked everyone's ass day in and day out. I mean, the hassles they went through, like they're still owed so much money from so many organizations that throw events as well as teams that promise them the moon, that I think we're all very lucky that they survived as long as they did and just kept doing it, you know. And it's actually really cool to see them like embracing the new game.
And provide so much great esports entertainment for everyone.
Absolutely.
Now let's move on to Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Neo and Taz have not been as successful yet in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, whereas Forest and Get Right they've gone on a run where they won 87 maps in a row without losing anything. What does that do to your head and the whole, because they're bound to think when they're facing Get Right and Force, I beat these guys before, I used to have these guys' number, but now they're in a game where the strength between the teams are NIP result-wise are a lot better. How does that play into their heads, you think?
I think for these guys, it doesn't.
You think they're so tough?
They're ready to rock and roll. Because again, at the very beginning of Go, you had Neo, who people were like already blessing as the second coming again. Yep. And again, he's stumbled since then, so to speak. Stumbled, right? But I don't think that kind of stuff enters in these guys' minds. They just, here they go again. We're playing Fnatic 2.0, kind of sort of halfway.
All right, and we're playing on Inferno, where NIP will start as terrorists, and we just saw they had some problems loading up terrorist rounds against Recursive of France. Does that translate between the two matches? It's been half an hour, it's been 45 minutes. Does them having problems on T-side 45 minutes ago have anything to do with them having problems now, or do you expect a totally different NIP team to come out of the gate against the Poles?
I actually expect a different one. I think of it this way. Okay, first of all, they won that game still, remember? It's not like they lost it.
Yep.
So that's almost like a free warm-up / debugging. Okay, certain things didn't work on T-side. We got things wrong. You know, when you went there, do that instead. The Poles don't have the luxury of that. They just played Dust 2. That doesn't translate. They can't take the mistakes they made and apply them here. So actually, that's an advantage to NIP, I think. Secondly, when you were mentioning there, in 1.6, part of the reason why almost these scenarios used to go to the Poles was in the back of both teams' minds. It's like, oh, the Poles always get us somehow. And they were like, don't worry, somehow we'll always come back. In CSGO, not only are NIP so dominant, they've only lost in history to 4 lineups ever. And the Poles weren't one of them. Let me just put that out there.
Yeah.
So it's the reverse. Now it's like, we've never beat them.
But, and this is the biggest tournament in history, and the Poles have never beaten NIP.
Well, there's never been a major in CSGO. Remember what I said before? They were never the great teams at the medium events, but somehow at the majors they came and rose up, you know.
So this is what I'm getting at. Is this the time where Neo and Taz finally breaks through in CSGO, or do you expect NIP to steamroll them?
I mean, I'm just a guy where I don't claim to be psychic, so I just go with like what I've seen already. So from what I've seen already, I don't think they steamroll them.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at like 16-9, 16-8, around this sort of range. They comfortably win. The Poles have a few punches there. They have something to offer, but this is NIP. There's only one team at the moment that has NIP's number, and it ain't the Poles.
And speaking of that, the downside of that is when you're at the top, all you can do is come down, right? The pressure, I mean, you can just, you all can't see, but maybe you can when they shine the cameras around. The crowd behind NIP is crazy. And like, so they've got this whole audience that follows them everywhere. I mean, they're the hype machine. They've got a TV crew following them. So pressure is on them. Neo and gang should just go play some good old Counter-Strike. And like, they don't have that pressure. I mean, internally they'll have pressure, of course. But I think, again, I'm going to pick NIP, but I don't think it's going to be a steamroll at all. I think it's going to be really close.
And to be fair, the format of this tournament actually means that maybe the Poles can play a bit looser. Because remember, it's the double elimination format. They just beat probably the second best team in the group. So if they go ahead and lose here, well, maybe they can just beat the French or they can beat the Americans.
I got to ask Thorin that talks about this. And we mentioned it earlier, but this is actually a really good one. So Bane Benesco. Nice. That's really
Bene or something?
That's really Bane Benesco. You really were creative on that. And his Twitter is CZTZ Mezer. Anyway, he asks, why did the organizers decide to do this upper bracket, lower bracket group stage, and why not the normal everybody plays everybody round robin like we're used to? Because it is, for if you've watched a lot of Counter-Strike over the years, like this is not the group play system that we're all used to.
No, it's a little weird for everybody, I'm sure.
There were a lot of problems with the group stage system that we just ignored because we took it for granted it had to be that way. The biggest problem actually comes from having, it was always 4-team groups. Say you had 8 teams in a group, so you play 7 matches against all these opponents, that probably nearly always will yield the best teams come out. But if you only play 3 maps, best of 1, just 3 single maps, you get all these funky scenarios that are actually unfair to certain teams in the group. It's not that you play everyone so it's fair. First of all, you have the scenario I described before. A team kind of won 2 games, a team kind of lost 2 games. Now you have a meaningless game.
Yep.
Because you play 6 games overall. You only play 5 in this system because the team who's out like that isn't there and the team who's up is gone. Now also, here's what else is interesting. You could have these scenarios that were really unfair where in my first match, I play against the worst team in the group, okay? So I thrash them. And it comes to a scenario where there's going to be 2 teams battling for the second spot. but another team has thrashed, they've won 2-0, and they're going to make it through for sure. They're already guaranteed. Now, they happen to be playing versus my opponent. Remember, I played the good team first. Maybe because they're already through, their heart isn't in it. Naturally, they're already through. So somehow they lose to that guy, and now I'm out, basically, because they didn't play their best. Whereas, meanwhile, in reverse, the scenario happens where if the reverse happens, now I'm having to play my absolute best at the end. Meanwhile, they've had the same scenario. So it can be unfair. Which order you play them in.
So what you're saying is that you think that this system makes for more interesting matches as a whole.
Well, and every match counts. You know?
That's what's beautiful,
And I think over the years, it was always like, okay, we've got a three-way tie. How does this league break the tie? Is it point differential? Is it rounds one and the guy threw the rounds because he didn't give a shit?
So all that always
goes away.
Chaotic.
You win, you go forward, you lose, you go home.
That's what I mean, by the way. The problem with CS is we never had a real tiebreaker situation because you can't use overtime in these best-of-ones. And the problem was, what I was meaning by that of the round situation is that you would end up with these scenarios where when we play, okay, let's say we both end tied. Well, like I said, you play the team who's already gone through on their wins, so they give up too many rounds to you, and now you go through just because they didn't try as hard, but they still won the game. Now, vice versa. In this system, that's impossible. We don't even count rounds. We can play overtimes. We just play until they're through.
I mean, we used to call them garbage rounds because, they just really didn't count, but they could actually decide someone's fate, which was really weird.
That's weird. We used to count rounds difference, and yet they didn't all play the same maps. So, okay, first game, I start train. I win 16-5 because I was on CT side. I won 13-2. Now, last game, you're playing for your survival, and you play as Inferno.
Aztec, you almost said.
Inferno, the most balanced map, and that's incredibly likely to yield like a 6-8, 6-10. So immediately you have an unfair advantage, even though you might not have played better, okay? And also, what I like about this format here is that we've seen from the way it's played out in StarCraft, it does decide the better player more often. It doesn't have any of these weird factors like who played who first, it's just who won two, who lost two, that's it.
Yep.
And I'm going to change gears a little bit here. You talked about NIP's TV crew following them around. Obviously, everybody knows there's a reality series now following NIP, the most successful team of all time. How does that play into your preparations going into what is essentially the biggest tournament in history with $100,000 for first prize?
I mean, I think it definitely adds a backpack full of pressure on these guys.
But these are guys that have been living with pressure for years.
Yeah, and actually, it can be a motivator. It can be a very positive reinforcement to your gameplay. Like, you want that monkey on your back sometimes. But if you're one of those guys that, get out of my face, and again, I don't know how their scrims have been going but in my time at EG, we had a couple documentary crews follow us around, and it tweaks you a little bit, it changes your behaviors. You can say, okay, I ignore the cameras, but you really can't. And again, they are the team to beat. There's nowhere to go for them but to lose, right? So it can go both ways. I think for NIP, they turn it into a positive pressure versus a negative.
What do you think about the whole TV crew
situation?
When I
first heard about it, that actually was something that interested me because I only heard recently, I think the news only came out a few days ago, okay, there'll be a reality TV show, they've been filming it, it's going to come out this day, or it'll air on this day.
Yeah, and I think 2 episodes are out so far.
The first thing I thought was, wait a minute, when did they start this TV show? Because NIP all of a sudden has had a 3-event losing streak. They never had a more than 2 events. They never had a 2-event losing streak. It never happened before. Now they've had 3 in a row, so there's some factors off. And like I referenced a bit earlier, the one player in their team you always knew would play consistently well was Get Right. His style of play engenders this safe, consistent style. He was the player playing the worst of the stars in their team. So he's a bit off. Suddenly there's this camera crew involved. Now listen, in a normal match, Get Right's, he's a gamer. He's got heart. But this is a different type of pressure. He's never experienced this. And I know Get Right's a very emotional player, okay? Certain players, like a Neo, or I think of any of these great players, some of them just have a natural confidence where it even comes into their personality out of the game, okay? If you say they're rubbish, they're like, well, we'll see in the game, my game will speak for myself. Get Right's a guy where he has the superstar talent, but he's a little bit fragile sometimes. He's very emotional. He cares what people think about him. He doesn't like it when fans say, oh, you play for stats or something. You know what I mean? He doesn't like if fans say, oh, you just ride for his coattails.
He's probably one of the most approachable stars.
But these things can shake him,
Yep.
And so that's why I wonder, is this playing a factor? Now, this is a great chance for them to prove me wrong. Like, that's not a factor. That was just before. Now we win with the cameras following us. But if they lose, then it's starting to creep into, like, what's this doing to NIP?
What can you tell us about the map situation here?
Okay, so the map will be Inferno. Here's the key thing. Like I said before, NIP, it's one of the maps you can beat them on. This is one that they do lose, but they're still very good on it. Now, Universal Soldiers also have never beaten them on it, by the way. I'll just point that out to begin with. But Universal Soldiers, there's some positives for them. With this new lineup, they had a game against Na'Vi. I think it was EMS, the last EMS, they crushed Na'Vi 16-5 on Inferno. So they have some skills on Inferno. I think they don't mind playing Inferno. It's a map they've played a lot. So again, it's doable, but it's NIP. Almost, they're so crazy that unless you're talking very games, unless you're talking Astana Dragons, they actually have a favorite. They're a favorite on every map against every team. So you've got to go with the numbers on that.
What's it going to take for the Universal Soldiers to beat NIP now? Do you need the two sort of unknown players to step up, or do you need Neo to come back to his 1.6 grandeur, or do you need Taz to play like he did once he started playing CSGO? Because he was really, really good for a while there, and he's been having trouble ever since. What's it going to take?
For me, it is Neo, okay? Because like I say, for me, Taz is the consistent one. I know what he's going to bring. He's going to bring a good game, okay? But he's going to take them so far, Neo can put them over the top. Now, can Neo be the Neo of 1.6? I think that's been the problem. It's that the question has never been positively answered. Because the problem was, Neo of 1.6 wasn't just a very good player. He was like a very good player plus something else. Now he's just a very good player. So people can beat him even when he's playing at his best. Before, if Neo or Forest played at their best, you just lost. You could play your best, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They've done too much, you know. Whereas on this team, like I was saying before with the iBioPower team, when they start losing, they're looking around like, who's going to be the guy who's going to lead us now? If Neo does well and Taz is doing well, it automatically takes pressure off those other guys.
Yeah.
Now they're like, oh, I just do my job, you know. I don't even have to be a star. I just do my job, and then it makes everything happen.
We just saw a highlight clip also from Pasha, who had a tremendous round there on short on Dust 2. Is he underrated in the shadow of Taz and Neo?
Towards the end of 1.6, that was starting to happen, actually. Well, their team...
How good is he?
Well, in 1.6, he'd gotten to be... He was on the verge of being a star. He was like breaking into that mold, but he hadn't quite gotten there. He was actually the MVP of an IEM World Championship they won. In CSGO, I think he was one of the players who struggled as well. And we were mainly watching Neo because it's Neo, but he was one of the players who initially struggled to get his form. Part of that's like the AWP is so different. His style in 1.6, I don't think anyone can replicate that in any other type of game. He was in a very aggressive AWPer as terrorist or CT. Like he would rush up the middle of the ramp on Dust 2 as CT with an AWP and kill you point blank. No one does that. You play back with the AWP. That's the opposite. You can never prepare for someone that you've never played against that style. Now in CSGO, he's a bit more an all-rounder, a bit more rifles now. So he's someone who can be an X factor too, but I don't know that I've seen him get to that level where I can call him a star.
Stylistically, how did these two teams match up? Poles being more aggressive, NIP hanging back. How do you expect the game to unfold stylistically?
That's why Get Right is the key, because the beauty of why NIP works when they're on top is everyone else, there's degrees of aggression, okay? Forrest, he's so amazing, he always goes in first. You know, he'll headshot you instantly. Freiburg, he likes to use the aggressive moves to make up for maybe not being as good as a Forrest or someone. Element of surprise. Fifth Liron's going to be more in the middle with Exist, because Exist's calling, they're going to be the middle guys. And they actually design their team. In most teams, if you wait behind and let your teammates die, you're actually selfish. Get Right's the most selfish, unselfish player. He does that because that's his role in the team. He's amazing at winning 1vx. Most star players like to take risks. He likes to wait, and then he'll win the 1vx because, first of all, he's really clutch, and he's got these mad skills. So it just takes him to another level. So, again, if he's off, that throws that end part off. Suddenly you're getting into those 1vx, and he'll keep losing over and over. If he's on, then you can die, and he can still take you back and win the round.
What do you think about Exist as a strat caller? I mean, you've seen a lot of great strat callers over the years. What kind of style does he have? I mean, you've probably seen strat callers yelling, standing up, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and the other ones who are just typing. How does he fit in?
I think he's kind of middle of the road. You don't necessarily... it seems like NIP is going to show you some emotion more when they're winning and a little more quiet when they're down. And he doesn't seem to be that loud, obnoxious, like rah, rah, rah in-game leader. I think he's more the calm, cool, and collected one. And again, lets his teammates let their guns speak more than their voices, you know. And again, it'll be very interesting when, when they weren't losing, but when they were giving those rounds up, they were steady as the course. They weren't freaking out about it. And again, I think champions don't get flustered. You learn from the mistake of the round before. You forget about it very quickly. You don't dwell on it. And I think he's, again, I think he's gonna nail it.
All right, we're ready for NIP against Universal Soldiers on Inferno. Let's take it over to our two beautiful casters in the purple shirt and with that lovely mustache, is Lurpus and Tosspot.
Who you picking? Yep. So that's going to be it.
Who knew Kobe Bryant knew so much about Counter-Strike?
Not me.
Not me either. And that old guy that's with him, genius.
Yeah. No one could have guessed that either.
No.
I think actually it's more likely that Kobe knows about Counter-Strike than someone Scott saying.
So if we take a look, we've got 30 seconds to get all that you've got to give us, Lurpus. NIP, they were the #1 for so long, but can they reclaim that position?
They very well might be able to, and I mean obviously this isn't really a step towards that because they're still very big favorites against Universal Soldiers, at least, I would say at least 70-30, if not more. However, they didn't look very good on the terrorist side of Inferno, which is what they're going to be starting on. They really struggled to get those 2 weapon rounds after going up 14-4 against Recursive in their previous game. And Universal Soldiers isn't a bad team. They've been very good ever since they created the new roster. So we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, it's not out of this world that US could surprise NIP. It's just not likely.
Now to Neo's statement earlier of we're not very well prepared, you know, we don't feel like we've practiced enough. I talked to Heaton earlier on, and Heaton turned around to me and said, we're the most prepared we've ever been. So when you go out with a bold statement like that, you've got to expect something big. We're about ready to start the pistol round. You guys can look at us a little bit more, though. We're very attractive. There's a thread about your mustache on HLTV. You know,
a lot of replies.
A lot of replies.
Surprisingly many people care.
There you go. One more time. Why?
It's like
November.
I think it's like 130 more people care than I expected, which is 0.
You're raising money for charity. You're being a hero. You're being better than I am. Anyway, as we are ready to get this one underway, we're not.
No, we got the server full of bots.
We lost all the players suddenly.
Except Get Right. Get Right just won't go away.
We were about to stop. We were about to get excited, but now we will come back. Let's come back to you. Interesting conversation the analysts were having about the documentary crew. Every time I've ever seen a documentary crew come in esports, the team's lost. You know,
except because we talked about this on, I think, either on podcast or after that when we kept talking with Karin and Thorin. The only time that hasn't happened, I think, is when Fnatic had the documentary crew following them for Eurosports in Shanghai, and they actually managed to win a global challenge for IEM. But I mean, most of the time, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I think of the most recent esports one, and this goes outside of Counter-Strike, the TSM one, you know, from the moment that started, they fell off a cliff. I remember the ones previously in CS, some of the Quake ones that happened. Whenever you put that camera right behind someone at all times, they go inside a box. They stop. They stop being who they are. Maybe they can buck the trend, and they've got to, because for a $250,000 prize purse, it's maybe not worth that documentary. It really isn't. I mean, it's like Thorin said on podcasts, like, this is the one time of the year I would not have documentary crews follow me. There's no way, if I'm NIP's management, I okay a documentary, even if it gets me a little bit of extra dough, unless that's substantial enough that it will make up for losing this tournament. Because why take that risk? Why would you add something? Why would you add more variables to the function at this point? You just want to keep it the way it is. You want to keep winning. You've been winning for a year. Why mess with it?
Yeah, and normally this happens, you know, the team, the organization benefits from it, not the players. Yeah. The players normally are like, I don't want this. I want to win tournaments. I get paid by winning tournaments. So we had a disconnect. I couldn't actually read. A lady came along with a sign. I was like, couldn't actually read what happened. Some form of a disconnect somewhere. So you're back with us. And your observations of the tournament that far. The game against NIP versus Recursive. From what I read, it was Kenny S, you know, doing what Kenny S does, just being a nuisance and being difficult.
Yeah, but something you have to consider is that NIP were up 14-4 when they finally started losing rounds. So there's always a possibility that NIP sort of took their foot off the pedal and just started kind of chilling and hoping they would just get those 2 rounds. And then once it got a little closer, they started trying harder. I mean, obviously, impressive by the Frenchmen to get that close. But every single time the favorite team goes up very big early on, you have to take the result with a grain of salt because you just don't know what's really going on there.
Have you seen anything out there on the floor today that's kind of impressed you, surprised you, made you think, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting?
Well, I've only spent like 30 minutes on the floor for every other game I've been here. So I'm not sure. I mean, I was mostly watching iBuyPower And then towards the end, I started watching the NIP game while I was on break. Haven't really seen all that much, just Counter-Strike.
And you stayed positive. You and Thorin have stayed, immensely positive about all things CS:GO today.
We're always positive.
Yeah?
Yeah, people twist our words.
They do. Particularly that @CS:GO dev guy. He twists your words, those tweets you send him. He's here. He's here. @CS:GO dev is here. Tweet him. Tell him you love him because he looked at Lurpus and he wanted to cry. I kid. So, we're filling. We're doing well. We do have a server backup now, it looks like, as we wait on players reconnecting to it. We lost, and I can see actually some of the Universal Soldier guys don't have headsets on set down, so looks like still a few minutes left to go. Obviously, if you're joining us, there's another game ongoing. Not that I would advertise leaving us, but just if you wanted to just check in, there is another game with the great Anders and Semler going on Stream B right now. So there's entertainment coming at you. All the games are casted. You don't miss a click of the action here. And that kind of takes us to an interesting juncture. You're going to get to center of all the matches here. What are you enjoying at the moment about CS:GO? Who are the players that you actually sit down and say, yeah, I pay money to watch that guy?
I mean, for the most part, I just want to see Astana, Very Games, and NIP play each other. That's what we said on the podcast, too. That's what everybody wants to see. I just want to see those three teams play each other as many times as possible. And even more so than Astana, I want to see Very Games and NIP play each other. But obviously, we're most likely going to have to wait until Saturday for that to happen. Do
you think the skill gap between those three and then the rest is that big? Or is it just the storyline that you enjoy?
It's that big. I think it's something that we mentioned earlier. I think Thorin mentioned in the studio, is that I think other teams are just sort of badly composed. Like the talent is split very unevenly after those three teams. So like Sweden has a bunch of teams with a couple of good players, and if they combined and got along, they could probably challenge NIP. But they spread the talent too thin.
And you got past a love note. What does the love note say? Disconnect, reconnect. It's a code. It's a code. Doesn't really help us. The game's still not in the lobby to be able to watch. But we're just going to keep going because the analysts are all gone. We're just left here, nothing in our ear. We're just going to keep powering through. We're going to sing us a song, Lurpus. Sing us, some Lordy or top Finnish pop songs.
No, I don't do that.
No,
no,
that's upsetting. We do have.
Maybe I do, but not here.
Maybe you do after a few drinks. So. We've talked about the teams, we've talked about the talent, we've talked about the competition. Thorin's covered, about the last 10 years of CS:GO history. What about the wider DreamHack experience here? You've been here umpteen times as a player as well. What's it like to be a player at DreamHack?
Well, I mean, personally, I prefer events that are like standalone events where the tournaments are held and that's like the main event there. It's always a hassle when you're around DreamHack's a massive BYOC event. There's like 10,000 people with their own computers, and there's like another, 10,000 visitors, something like that here. So, I mean, it's just a huge event to be a part of. And obviously, I don't think it's all, this area is actually pretty good for players. There's not a lot of noise, but some years it's been really loud because of people like playing music on their speakers in the BYOC and things like that. So, for me personally, I just like the peace and quiet of like smaller events. But DreamHack is just a thing of its own. Like, there's no other event like it.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're kind of running out of filler here because we've kind of been left on our own. We're going to go into, we're going to take a book out of that old guy's, is the old guy Red Eye, or did they find someone older? The Red Eye jokes are in good taste. He would be upset if he wasn't mentioned for being old. We're going to dive into chat. We'll do Ask Lurpus. Seeing as we've done Ask Thorin, let's do Ask Lurpus in Twitch chat. We have it open. Give us something other than Hitler smileys for what we should. What would you like to hear from Lurpus? What former legend of CS 1.6 fame through EG, and I was trying to remember the coordinates.
69N 2080.
That 69N 28 coordinates that became Roccat. What have you got for us, guys? What do you want to know about Lurpus? Some people want you to dance. That's something I'd like. Some people are asking personal questions that I just don't think we're going to go into. I'm just, really trying to fill some time here. Come on, guys. You can sing us some Lordy. String us some Lordy. Come on.
The thought process of not shaving the stash is it's November, and I made a bet with my friend that I wouldn't shave it until the end of November.
How much money have you raised for Movember? That's a great question from... no one asked it. How much money have you raised for it?
I haven't raised money.
You're supposed to raise money. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but that's work. I raise awareness.
You are raising awareness.
Yeah.
Tell the 28,000 people who would rather be watching CSGO than us, tell them what is the cause for Movember.
Prostate cancer.
And that is what you're raising. I thought you were going to go into some form of spiel. Help me out, man. Help me out.
There really just isn't a lot to talk about that. Why don't we talk about CS stuff?
Okay. Guys, what CS questions have you got for Lurpus?
Do I still talk with the COL guys? I assume that means the old EG guys. Yes, I talked to Jordan, and I talked to Fraud a little while ago, caught up with him. I talk to Storm every now and then. I talk to them, not like daily or weekly, but here and there when there's a reason to.
Great question in chat. When will you start streaming the match? So we have some form of a disconnect. We've been given this piece of paper. This is the information we're going on. Don't know whether you can read it. It says, disconnect, reconnect. This is all the information we have. They're just leaving us. BSL and the old guy, they're just chatting over there. Kobe Bryant's gone to shoot some hoops. I mean, we're just filling.
His Achilles is looking good. He might be coming back in a week or so.
Yeah?
Yeah, didn't you see him?
You follow every American
he jumped
sport.
Down from there.
Yeah, true. Is Kobe Bryant currently injured?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Story's Achilles heel last April.
There you go. Why don't you tell the audience about that? They might be interested.
They should know, but he also signed a 2-year extension worth $48 million, making him the highest paid player in the NBA at 35 years old. Or 35.
Here you go. Question from Nizarem. Thoughts on the P90?
Seems like a useless weapon to me now that Valve has updated the guns. No one really uses it anymore, which is good, because I think having too big of a variety of guns actually makes the game slightly more random. That's why I like how... Well, it's slowly starting to get to that point where there's not a billion different guns that are being used, but I still think, for example, the auto sniper needs to be nerfed a little bit. I think it's still slightly too strong. It's too easy to get like super multi-kill rounds just from being really far away, and I think that's actually a big part of the reason why people don't like Train, because auto sniper is just so overpowered on that map.
And if we go back into kind of CS history, what are some of your favorite moments? If you had to pick one moment that defines why Lurpus loves Counter-Strike, what would it be?
I don't know. It's just like would have to be like some win, like the adrenaline rush you get from winning some match at a big tournament. I think that's the whole reason why anybody loves everybody who plays Counter-Strike loves Counter-Strike. You just want to get that adrenaline rush and get that feeling when you win a big match. I think that's what it's always about in competition. So we're on stream. We've been left cast adrift by our comrades who are just stood to our right, kind of laughing at us. By our admins who just aren't really telling us anything. We can't actually get in game. So we're filling time. We're asking you to get involved. We want to see what. Here's a question for you by Casual Fella, and I'm going to go for it. Why are your HLTV predictions off the mark so far? What's changed today that you didn't think a couple days ago? They're just guesses.
The predictions are just guesses?
They're just guesses. I mean, that's...
But you're paid the big bucks. You should be on the money like the old man.
Not sure about the big bucks.
No?
No.
We see movement. We see movement coming up on the stage. Maybe they have information. No, Scoots is in his trailer.
Lock the door, too. Won't see anyone.
He locked the door. BSL, he can hear us. He might be able to help us find some information. No, he's talking to a fan. So we're really just lost. And we do apologize. We recommend you guys go and watch Anders on Stream B because it's much more exciting than us just waffling. It really is. Whenever we can bring you the game, we will. We'd like to thank the sponsors of this who make it possible. SteelSeries, who have been involved in this from the go, long-term supporters of Counter-Strike as well, have always been part of the CS community, so big thanks to them. Obviously, Valve and their involvement in this, and then what you guys have done. What you guys have done in terms of, contributing, getting the prize money involved. Thorin's come back. He's come up with a suggestion, so we'll go there. So big thank you to all of you guys. And that's a reminder that this is kind of community-oriented, community-funded. We can do this again and again and again in future if we can all, get involved in these types of tournaments. So fantastic stuff. Anyway, we've got some Ask Lurpus. We've got a hashtag of Ask Lurpus. Fantastic. We're ready to go. We've got 6 questions. First one, who does your hair?
I do.
Do you do it all yourself? Yes. Congratulations. Who do you root for in the NFL from?
Patriots.
You're a Patriots fan?
Yes.
Is that because they win quite regularly?
No.
No? Which CSGO player will become the Forrest or Neo of CSGO?
Could be Shocks, the way things are looking, but it's still way too early to tell.
Could be Shocks. Is Shocks not the Shocks of CSS?
Well, Shocks might be the Forrest or Neo of CSGO. I'm not sure what exactly his status was in CSS, but it answers that question. Why did I quit CS? I think I got a little tired of all the practice, all the travel, all the negatives that come with it, how much it hogs up your time. I mean, it's just really nice after years of being stuck in front of your computer from 7 to 10 p.m. on a daily basis, just actually being able to do whatever you want. I think there's the time for everything. Sometimes you just get sick of things. Yeah, I mean, I already...
You sound like you're going to cry.
No, I mean, I already quit playing CS, I think like 6 months before 1.6 ended, so it's not like I just quit when the second CSGO came out. I already quit before that.
We're on hashtag Ask Lurpus.
Best Finnish team ever was 69 in 2080. There's no question about that.
No question about that?
No. Kobe Bryant is really not a DreamHack winner.
Yes, he is. Well, look, he was right there a second ago. I saw Kobe Bryant.
I wish he would just walk by. That would just be the perfect moment, but...
We've got all the stars are here. Darude's here. He'll be playing on Saturday night. Kobe Bryant's here. The old guy from Grumpy Old Men's here. It's here.
Let's see. What do I think of a SteelSeries Rival? It's a good mouse. It's too big for my taste. That's what she said.
You do have very small little girl hands. Put your hands up. Put your hands up to the camera. Look at that. You have minuscule hands. I'm worried about you.
But I have a really big wingspan, way above what it should be. So it's all good. I can't palm a basketball though.
Yeah?
No.
No?
No.
If you're wondering why we're talking about all of this, we're waiting on. Looks like looks like, with the exception of Neo, I mean we can't actually see, so we're assuming that the players will go back in. But should we see if the server's spawned yet?
Yep.
That would be a. That would be helpful.
No, it doesn't look like that's the case. We're
No,
still waiting.
Okay.
What advice do you have for someone that wants to go pro at CSGO or any other game for that matter? Well, first of all, you're going to have to be willing to sacrifice other things because there's no way you're going to become one of the world's best at anything if you're just going to do it on the side. It's going to take a lot of sacrifice of doing things you don't necessarily always want to do. That includes staying home on the weekends to practice, staying home, turning down a lot of social events during the week. And you obviously got to have a good attitude towards practice. You got to always try to improve. It's just a lot of work. I mean,
but you got all the girls.
I mean, it boils down to the same thing as anything else in life. Like, you just got to work hard for it. Let's see what else there are.
What do you think about BSL's pronunciation of LGB esports?
What was the thread called? LGBBS? I think it's BS.
It was LGB esports by LBSL or something.
I would, if I could make one important update to CSGO, it would be the movement. I would change the movement.
We're on Twitter, hashtag AskLurpus. What do you think of vacarm.net?
I visited that page about one time ever when they broke some news about Very Games. I don't speak French, so I wouldn't have any reason to ever go there.
Vive la France. You can pick it up really easy.
Maybe. Yep. C'est la vie.
There you go. You're getting the hang of it.
What is your favorite map to watch or play on? I don't really have a favorite map to play CSGO on because I don't play CSGO. I think my favorite map to watch would be... not actually sure. I think maybe Nuke. Maybe Nuke. Old Mirage was my favorite map, but since it's no longer played, it's Order 11 now.
I'm looking in chat for something, but there's nothing there for me to pull out. There's this picture of this man. This man picture keeps popping up. I don't know whether it's, you know, someone famous.
NIP 05 versus NIP 13 in CSGO. Do you want to see it? No. NIP 05 was never like a really, really good team. That was just like the whole show match was actually like an NIP team that was never a team. It's just like people who played for NIP from 01 to 07. So to me, that wasn't really that exciting because I was around and I know that was never like a team. So while newer fans thought that was like a magical team that would challenge.
It was a magical team that got to the World Cyber Games final in Monza.
It was a magical team. It was 2 players from that magical team, or 1.
Well, they got all the way to the World Cyber Games final. They got a sensational.
One of those players.
One of those players went 1, 2, 3, 1 versus 5 against the
Except
Poles.
that player wasn't around. That player wasn't there.
Doesn't matter.
If it was a real NIP team, yeah, that'd be cool. But if it's one player from there, and then one player from 01, 1 player from 05, 1 player from 07, why do I want to see a pug play against the team who still plays? What do you think about ESEA using DE Train V in their map pool? I think it's a great idea because people seem to prefer that version of the map. And obviously, we haven't seen Train played in like 3 forevers now. So, I don't know. How long did I play CS for? I started playing in late 2002, competitively in like early 2003, and I stopped playing in early 2012. And then I attended a couple more events for fun, but that's when I took a couple of breaks here and there. Do you think North American teams are getting weaker? I don't think they're getting weaker, but they're also not improving a whole lot. So they're pretty much just stagnant at the level they're at. I think COL has a chance to improve, but obviously we're not going to know until we see them play tomorrow.
What was your experience like playing with the North Americans? I mean, coming from a purely European background, was it a different mentality? What did you have to learn? What did you have to change?
Well, I mean, it's just dealing with the different types of personalities. First of all, is the biggest thing, because obviously when I played with Finns, I usually play with the same core group of people, and we changed like 1 player here and there, but it was always like the same group of people. People in EG were a lot more receptive to criticism and just like changing things. They were a lot less stubborn in general, not all of them, but in general than the Finnish teams that I played on. So it actually felt like a lot easier to play on EG because it felt like I had more control of everything. So, I mean, that experience was good for me, but...
What was it like having Sir Scoots as your manager?
Oh, that was the worst thing ever. What? No, I love Scott.
If we could get an admin over, if you're rejoining us, this is currently all the information we have. We are basing our entire current Ask Lurpus hashtag on Twitter on the fact that the game is, we're still waiting on getting this underway. We'd love to go to an ad break if anyone's listening. We'll do that in a heartbeat. I'd pay for us to go to an ad break. But in the meantime, we're stuck.
Yeah. Which teammate did you enjoy playing with the most?
Wait. Huh? There's a better question there.
Which one? This
From
one?
Nathan Cooper.
Would you ever co-cast with Richard Lewis? I just don't see why I would do it. I mean, I don't think he has anything interesting to say. I wouldn't want to talk to him.
I think he's got a good viewpoint. Actually, I defend him. I like his viewpoint. It's more left field of the popularists. But
I mean, he probably has some good viewpoints in something else, but he just doesn't know anything about Counter-Strike. So if I'm going to cast Counter-Strike, I want to talk to someone who knows Counter-Strike or has something to add. I don't see what he adds. What commands do pros use? The same commands everybody else. They change their sensitivity and their buttons in the in-game GUI, and then they move that little thing in the middle of the screen, or right there, give or take, that by default green thing. They put that on the people's heads before they press mouse 1. That's the secret command.
Wow. Would you rather be playing than casting?
If I was playing actively and I was in good shape, yeah, of course I'd prefer playing. But in my current form, like I haven't played a round of Counter-Strike since April. So why would I ever want to play?
But do you, when you watch these matches, do you miss the rush?
Yeah, no. I mean, the thing is, it's different enough that I don't get the same feeling. When I watch like really close games, like NIP very games, then yeah, it's the same as like any sport. Like you just miss that competition. I mean, if I just do other things, compete in other things, I get the same feeling as from Counter-Strike. It's obviously not at the same level, which, you know, you can't really compete with that. I don't really expect to ever be as good at any other competition as I was at Counter-Strike. It's just not very unlikely.
Now, you follow every American sport on the planet. I've just watched you flick through everything from boring baseball to boring NFL.
Not baseball. I don't watch baseball. But I'm seriously considering starting to watch baseball because summers are so miserable with no sports.
Yeah, so you just seem to love sports in the aspect of competition.
Yes.
Do you follow other esports?
No.
Why not?
Because I've never played any other games.
But you've never played baseball.
Yeah, but I still understand the concept. I played softball in school.
Did you play NFL?
No.
And the concept's alien to anyone who follows a real football game.
Yeah, but my friends got me into it. I played hockey, played floorball, I played basketball.
So even a game that's visually kind of easy to understand, like a Quake, for example, you wouldn't get into just for the competition?
I used to watch Quake, and we used to watch Painkiller when that was played because it's so fast, it's just impossible to get bored watching it. But like I've never played Dota or LOL or
those games offer you nothing
any of the other
visually.
games. Like I'm just not a gamer in that sense. Like I don't play games at home. I never ever play any games. I don't have any games installed aside from CS. I play NHL, but that's on consoles.
On the Sega Mega Drive? I remember that. So we're just kind of sat up here waffling. At the moment we could go to an ad break, we would. We've just been left. Someone save us. Someone. This is the way we could get us to an ad break. We need you to tweet. What's Robert, the CEO of DreamHack's Twitter? At Robert Ahern.
No idea.
If you could tweet at DreamHack, time for a break on CSGO, that we may be freed. That's probably a good way. I think that's the only way we can get out.
My favorite game, if I can choose, CS 1.6, NHL 14. Actually, 14 hasn't been kind to me. NHL 13.
There you go.
There you go.
Everyone keeps leaving us. Occasionally we'll get a cameraman just walk by, or occasionally we'll get PSL, but they just left us up here.
But
they're really like, we hate you guys. You're stuck.
I think we got a break coming up now, though.
We can go to break.
Yeah.
We are going to be right back here from DreamHack. Welcome back to DreamHack, ladies and gentlemen. We've got an absolute belter of a game for you. It's NIP versus Universal Soldiers, and if you've been sat here for, the best part of an hour waiting for it, I promise you, I guarantee you, this will be worth the wait. Lopez, why?
It's going to be a good game, I hope. I mean, the teams have had like 83 hours to warm up, so if ever they're going to be ready to play, this is it.
This is it. To set the scene for you, this is the second group map. Universal Soldiers have beaten their first opponent, which was iBuyPower. Yep. NIP dispatched on the French side. iBuyPower have now been knocked out of the tournament. That match was ongoing in the background. And waiting for them, our team, We Got Game, who have just changed names. Recursive. Yep. I've messed it up. So, this to decide. The winner goes on to face. The winner goes on through 2 wins, and you're out of the group. The loser will go in and face Recursive to get themselves out. We'll then have the 2 best-of-8s played simultaneously. We're going to get this game underway. We're seeing a map overview of DE Inferno. I'm sure you recognize it, but we're going to go straight into the match. Here we go. We're live. Lopez, very quickly, who's going to win?
NIP.
That was quick.
That was quick. He asked me to be quick.
I did. We're underway. There you go. As we have NIP. Probably
they're making their push up middle right now. It's going to be met by Pasha.
Here we go. Forrest leads the charge, and it's going to be opening frag coming in from Snacks. He gets himself 2 frags before Exist and Forrest return fire and get themselves back on the board. NIP charge down towards the pit, and there's Taz and Bialy waiting for them. Frag apiece. We're down to a 1 versus 1 now. Freiberg on Neo. Neo full health, knows exactly where the bomb is, and can just afford to say, Freiberg, come and get it. Come and get it. Neo gives away his position, though, those 2 shots over the side. Freiberg now knows exactly where he is. They're going to do the dance around the bomb site. Nade out to try and bait Neo in. Neo's too smart for that as he goes through and lands maybe a shot onto Freiberg, who's picked up the bomb and is now going to go straight into the site. Here comes Neo, though, waiting for no one. Charges in, 10 points of health there for Freiberg for the headshot dispatches of the pole. And NIP needed something big and got it.
Yeah, that was a really nice shot by Freiberg. I think he had like 3 bullets left in his clip. Little hope of pulling that off, but sick 1 shot there in the head of Neo. It was almost certain that Neo was going to be able to win that round, but just a sick individual performance by Freiberg.
So that's my question to you. Did Neo play that poorly, or did Freiberg play that well?
Neo played that fine. I mean, Freiberg just hit a crazy shot. If you hit shots like that, there's very little an opponent can do.
So the delay, ladies and gentlemen, just so you're aware, some kind of unconfoundable error on 3 straight PCs for 1 player, which was Get Right. He had 3 PCs that just wouldn't give him the performance he was looking for. We've moved on to a 4th, and 4 seems to be the magic number for Get Right. As Get Right, right on cue, commentator's curse, gets a bullet in the head from Taz, and maybe I spoke too soon. As Pasha will use the smoke. We've seen him do this once before, but Exist smarter than the Americans were, and he gets himself that frag. And for an eco round, let's talk about the effect of what that delay could have had on either side.
Well, I think in general, when things like that happen, it usually favors the more experienced team. Though in this case, it's tie. So in that case, I think it probably favors the US in the sense that it just takes NIP off their game maybe a little bit, and especially might affect Get Right a little bit, having to go through multiple PCs, not being able to warm up while everybody else has all the time in the world. So might help US just a very tiny bit, but I mean, NIP got all that back and more when Freiberg hit that USB 1 shot on the pistol round.
Yeah, suddenly it looked like NIP had been warmed up for hours. But yeah,
well, they were.
Yeah, well, 4 of them were.
Yeah.
Bomb goes down and Forrest cleans out. I was watching US and chatting with them a little bit. They were playing aim maps. They were keeping warm. They weren't missing any opportunity to get themselves fully prepared for this. But we'll see. That can have an effect on players, or it could just isolate itself to 1. Heaton himself, he was pretty open. He was pretty calm during the whole thing. Pretty happy, and I imagine he's a player who doesn't really enjoy being on the sidelines when he watches a tournament like this. Whereas Freiberg will lead the push-up banana. Nade comes flying down as he makes his way in, will ping out his grenade. There are 2 players up at B lying in wait for him as Pasha is there. And it will be Nip who just have waited to see whether Universal Soldiers have made any kind of push. They've not really done anything, and they've just Nip are now ready to kind of run their game. Was there a pick to be had? Actually, there was in the end. Bjarly's been picked off, and that'll allow a follow-up frag from Exist and Freiburg, and that's 3 men down. And Nip have barely taken any damage. Just Fiflaren down to 70 points of health, and Pasha the last man standing. And so this is going to close out a successful pistol conversion for NIP and put them up 3-0 on T-side. Talk us through map bias on this one. What's a T-sided score that you want?
Recently, we've seen teams put up very good terrorist halves. The thing in Counter-Strike, on any given map in Counter-Strike in general, is the fact that the money system can just completely reverse the scores on any map. So regardless of a map being CT-sided, if the terrorist team get off to a good start, they win the pistol round, win the first weapon round, something we saw Fnatic do against Navi on the Metro and Mirage much earlier today. You know, it just can completely mess up the counter-terrorists. So winning key rounds is the most important thing. I don't think half necessarily matters when top teams play each other.
Neo pushed down Bjarly and thought there was something there for him. It wasn't in the end. There are 2 players lying for him. It's Snacks that's going to try and pick up the running there, but Forrest shuts him down. And what was kind of standard Universal Soldiers aggression, use your talent, use your natural born ability to get kills in Counter-Strike, didn't actually work for them that time. We're in a 3 versus 3 though, and that favors the T's at all times.
Yeah, it does certainly. And this is a moment where, as a counter-terrorist, you would probably want to take a risk somewhere, because when you play these default spots, ultimately the terrorists are probably going to have 3 people attacking 1 or 2 people, and that's obviously going to favor NIP here. But we'll see what the Swedes choose to do. It looks like they are going to head towards the A side, and Taz is going to be the one seeing Forrest here, just any second now behind this corner.
And here he comes, running around the corner. Taz spies him, he nips into spawn, goes out for the second, but Fiflaren will shut him down with a headshot. Fiflaren took a lot of damage there. Nip out with 2 players on low health. Is there something that Bjarly can do? He's more than capable of going double as he pushes in. He's got 2 players coming around to the pit. He needs support. The rotation from B was so slow. And Pasha is now coming into spawn. The bomb will go down, and Pasha in the end will have to save out that gun. But to your point, had they stayed as 3 on one side or another, they were always going to be stronger together.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, you don't really want to have all 3 go to one side, because then if you have the retake, you're pretty much toast. So what I would have suggested is have someone, say Bjarly, just push through the hallway and clear that area, and then potentially flank someone in the middle, and then keep spotting in middle aggressively instead of playing so far back where Taz was playing by in front of the library area and former small pit area. Because when you're playing so far back, NIP is already too close for your rotation to get there. And especially on a map like Inferno, where the rotation is still fairly far, as we saw at Pasha. He was just way too far to be able to be of any help for Bjarly. You just want to spot the opponents very early on to be able to make the rotation.
So 4-0. First gun round lost by Universal Soldiers. Lost the pistol round. There's a random shot of the good BYOC area of DreamHack. And we'll spy with only 1 gun. They'll probably load Pasha up on one site, like the last time.
Yeah, that is likely what's going to happen. Pasha is peeking middle aggressively, and we'll see what, if anything, he's able to do with that gun. Looks like he isn't going to just mindlessly peek too much. He's falling back a little bit now, trying to decide where to go. But US not really doing too much as a team right now, though Taz does have a pair of dualies in his arms, or hands rather. If I was US, I would just do something more as a team and just try to get a little lucky on the partial save round, because playing like this, you sort of need Pasha to do something really huge here for them to have a chance to realistically win this round without NIP making plenty of mistakes, which they normally don't do.
Heaton told me earlier on that he thought that his team were more prepared than they ever have been. And this far, we've seen them, as you said, they've made no mistakes. They played everything by the book. The rounds have been expensive, and NIP haven't really been able to waltz all over the polls, but we're only 4 rounds in. Let's not write a book about them just yet, as Freiburg is ready to push in. He's got Neo lying right in front of him. He's got reinforcements coming up the rear, and it'll be Freiburg to lead the charge in. And here we go. Waiting in his face is Snacks. Gets himself 1 frag before NIP return with 2. Asher, though, comes up with a double frag. And here we go. NIP move the bomb in. They've got Bjarly and Taz, who may as well go for it. They're going to come up Banana and try and make something happen for them as they slow down so as not to be heard. they will have a tough entry in, but they may look for some of the weapons on the floor as they go in there to help them out. And they've done exactly that. They've got 2 AKs, and it's a 2-on-2 retake here. It's not impossible for the Poles here as they push through. Forest is lying in wait. They get themselves picked off first, and Pyjamas will take that frag onto Taz, and Bialy will say, all right, cut my losses, I'll get a gun.
Yeah, that's a very good save round for US, obviously, getting 3 kills, even if Pasha had a gun. I mean, US kept that one gun. It's not the same weapon, but gun nevertheless. And they were able to take out 3 of NIP, so a good effort by them. And Pasha was actually really close to getting a 3rd kill there, and that might have been the difference between winning that round and just putting up a very good fight.
There is NIP on your screen. You can see behind them the wall of fans that they exclusively have. Only one man behind, well, a few behind Universal Soldiers, but NIP...
To be fair, there's a little wall blocking people watching ESC, and I don't think a lot of people are allowed to be sitting behind this area. So, but it's not to say NIP doesn't have the biggest following at DreamHack, because they do for sure.
They do. I'm pretty sure there was a "Get Right, Have My Babies" sign that I passed earlier, as Freiburg is going to lead the assault for NIP as they push in, and it'll be Freiburg who's going to get picked off in the back here. Bialy and Taz have got themselves 3 frags between them. Exist and Get Right say, not so easily, son. And Pasha is going to have to get himself involved. It's 3-on-1. It's Get Right, the man with all the PC problems, but the man who can deliver in a situation like this down in the pit, laying fire,
nice shot there
with a huge headshot onto Pasha. And a 1-on-3 suddenly becomes a 1-on-2. In goes the Incendiary Grenade down and towards that pit. Get Right pushed all the way back inside it. He doesn't have the bomb. Can get it pretty easy.
But he does have plenty of time, and he will be able to get the bomb. So, I mean, this is the world's best clutch player right here. We'll see if he's able to turn this round around.
They've got to play this one by the numbers here. Leave him be.
Could be a very devastating loss for US if they are still unable to get on the board here.
Oh, Get Right with his 2nd headshot, but Snack says no. And that is almost brilliant. But by margins, not just enough. And US have finally got themselves on the board. It's going to be 5-1.
And, I mean, that was a really nice effort by Get Right. And getting those 2 kills is actually really, really huge.
I mean, it's very expensive. No money left in the bank for US.
Now US has very little money. I mean, a couple of their players do because of saving those weapons. I think it was Bialy who saved the gun in the previous round. But, I mean, otherwise, they're going to be broke so much sooner because of that. And it's not going to be a full buy, which it would have been otherwise.
And there they go again. Snacks pushed all the way down Banana. They've done this already in the opening few rounds. They go aggressive. They try to take a position. Didn't work for them this time around. Didn't work for them last time around. As Freiburg's going to go there. Pasha gets himself a frag, and it's going to go tit for tat. We're on a 3 versus 3. I'm sure we've been here before. And Nip will regroup in the center. How do you play this one from here?
Well, once again, as US, I would do something. I would try to find out where NIP is doing. I would spot a lot more aggressively than they are. Right now, Bialy is in danger of letting Get Right sneak up way too close once again, although I think he gets spotted now. But I would just try to find out what NIP is doing more aggressively. US is letting NIP make all the moves, and you don't want to let a team like NIP play in their comfort zone.
So they have made the rotation over towards A little bit quicker, but Forrest has got the bomb in spawn. He's going to go through, takes down Taz. Where's he going to go? He's got his back turned to the one US player who's there. No, Neo waiting for him as he comes around the corner. Forrest delivers again, and that leaves Bialy to go 1 versus 2 with 19 points of health. Pyjamas gets out of there just as Bialy did open up to him, and Forrest will run that bomb in towards the B site, waiting on Bialy's move, and Bialy, slow to get out of A, probably will decide it's better to have a weapon than not, and probably will say, right, that's going to be 6-1.
Yeah, I mean, he should save with 19 health in a 1v2. Odds of him winning this are very, very low, and just goes to show NIP is very good at converting these 3v3 situations. Once again, I feel like US misplayed the round, and it's going to cost him.
He's going for it. He's not holding back.
He should be. So that's another mistake on top of the mistake that he's already
and he's going to get picked off
round
by Forrest. Surely no. Now he's pulling back, but he had appetite for that.
Yeah, he did.
He's like, I want it. I really want it, but I can't have it. And Forrest will go down in the end. Still expensive for an though, and you wonder whether that'll come into play later on. They do have a fair amount of cash in the bank.
It could come into play later on, but right now, US is broke. They're going to have to save once again, and that's going to allow NIP to go up 7-1, short of a sort of a save round win here for the Polish side. And NIP are just racking up rounds at a rate that it's going to be very, very hard for US to match him, even after changing sides. You don't want to let NIP roll away with a big lead. I mean, the terrorist side was the one they had problems with against Recursive earlier today when they went down from a 14-4 lead all the way down to, I think, 13-15 before finally closing them out. So we already know their counter-terrorist side is in shape. And it's a lot easier to grind out rounds without even, like, or not really grind out, but just win rounds without giving it your all on the CT side because you're sort of just waiting for the other team to attack. So this is when NIP is going to be working for it, and you really have to get some stops. You can't let him win all those close rounds, because otherwise you're going to be toast.
Exist at the top of the banana walkway, bomb at the bottom of it. NIP not really committed either way. They've got two just pushed up in the direction of A, looking to see whether anyone poked their head out. They haven't. Bjarli's got the one gun on the CT side. Few shots fired for effect. Taz is going to get a grenade to tie his shoelace for him, and that'll take him down to 32 points of health as he slowly looks for a peek. He now gets the sight. He now says, right, guys, get to A quick. It's incoming, and Taz will retreat quickly. Bjarli's going to get into action. Opens up with a frag. Doesn't take anything back either. Nice work from him, but there are 4 more where that came from as NIP make their way in towards the site, and Bjarli is going to have his work cut out for him here. He's doing a bit of damage, but he's going to get pushed back, and he may decide once more a weapon's worth having, and they'll collect a few more. Pasha's got himself an AK. They'll go for some exits. They'll try and see whether they can make this more expensive, but with 4 NIP players left up, they're not going to be able to get in. It's going to be 7-1, and I kind of feel this is really against how Universal Soldiers want to play. They want to be aggressive. They want their individual talent to carry them through, because that's what some of these guys have done for a long, long time. But it's not working for them at the moment.
Yeah, it really isn't. NIP are just getting those early picks and trades. Well, not necessarily even picks. So far, it's been trades. But like we said a million times today, I feel like on the terrorist side, you want to go for trades. You want to go down from 5v5 to 4v4 or 3v3. You always want to do that. So when Universal Soldiers do their aggressive pushes, but they only get trades, that's going to always favor NIP. And they're very good at converting those mid-round situations to their favor, as we've seen so far in this half.
Buy round, but not a good one. Famas is out for Pasha, although I will say in their game against iBuyPower, his Famas was pretty beautiful. As Exist will push up. Flash comes over the top, and NIP have got 3 players pushed up mid towards A. Only 1 on the banana walkway at the moment, and Get Right's jumped all the way up. As he lies in wait for Universal Soldiers. Bjarli's in the house. He knows he's got action coming his way. He fires off a few shots, shoots his load a little too early there, and now that's allowed them to push in because they know the moment he goes for that reload, he will fall back. And you can see those 4 X-ray enhanced shadows making their way towards him. Bjarli's waiting to just get confirmation, and then he'll drop down into the pit. Here he goes. He's got that confirmation. He's going to fall back and say, yep, guys, it's coming. And Forrest is going to lead the charge. And you feel like NIP are setting the agenda here. US being pushed further and further back as Pasha pokes his head into the smoke. Nothing there for it. Well, there is something there, but US forced to fall back. Quick look at the minimap spies. 2 men up on banana walkway, and the bomb perhaps retreating here as they push in. It's going to be Neo who's going to get some action here as Freiburg comes towards him. He's right in front of him. Neo gets the frag. Opening frag finally for Universal Soldiers. It's going to be traded out by Forrest. Double headshot. He doesn't miss from there, but Pasha and that Famas powers away too. Universal Soldiers going frag for frag, but finally, after the early trades, have got themselves a man to the good. It's Forrest and Exist to cover a 2-on-3 after plant as the incoming players come now. It's going to be all on Snacks to deliver onto Exist, and the last man standing was Forrest, and 2 headshots seems to be his count. And Universal Soldiers on the board, 2nd round of the game for them.
For a second, that actually looked like Forrest's 2 quick headshots heading into the A side from hallway. The hallway was going to be enough for NIP to get entry, but Pasha came back with that FAMAS you just hyped up so much, and he actually lived up to it. Maybe Castro's curse isn't real after all. It's not, by the way.
I'm as surprised as you are that I know something, but seemed to happen. And Universal Soldiers will slog on here. Pasha now on his AK as They need to not lose this gun round.
This is a really big round for Universal Soldiers. They really want to win this round because otherwise they're not going to have money to buy next round. So once again, this round is basically worth 2 rounds for NIP. If they win this round, they are also going to win the round after. So that effectively put up a 9-2. Whereas if Universal Soldiers win this, NIP is still going to buy next round. But if they win 2 rounds in a row, maybe the Swedes will have to save. All of a sudden, the Poles will be within striking range. And they might be getting to somewhat even score by the half. They could even still go up 8-7. In the best case scenario. So this is where it all begins. This is what round they need to win because they really need to string rounds together. They can't win one and lose one because that's not how you can ever come back as a counter-terrorist.
This is the one round there haven't been 2 in B. And this is going to be the round when there are 3 men coming up the banana walkway, 4 men coming up the banana walkway with a bomb. And Neo is going to have to roll back the years here as he goes in towards the slack. Tickets of damage. He's going to push in. It's the 6 that's in there. And here we go. Neo jumps down, gets picked off by the first man. Can't hold up the assault. And the bomb will go down. If I'm US, you have to hold back. Don't engage. You're not going to get this slack back if they can't get a frag from afar. Yeah, they're not even landing anything.
Yeah, if I'm US, I make sure all 4 of us save our guns and we don't lose any of them, and then we can still buy next round. But it has to be all 4. We can't lose a single other gun. That's why I actually think it's a bit of a mistake that they're running back so early, because if they were making noise for a little bit longer, NIP would have thought maybe they're going for it. Because now I think they're probably going to start chasing.
Well, they've left 3-4 in the bomb side actually still.
Yeah, and NIP actually playing very passively. This is very surprising to me. I thought they were going to chase US for sure, but maybe they're also a little worried because they don't have a lot of money in the bank. I mean, they still have a monetary advantage, but it looks like they are playing it safe indeed here.
I feel there are a few sayings in CS shoutcasting that you can really just kind of rinse, lather, and repeat, which are, this next round is really important. This pistol round is doubly important. And they can't afford to lose here because the money system will come and kick them in the arse.
Yep.
But it does repeat. You do only have a certain amount of rounds that really contribute to the winning and losing of the game. And for US, actually getting away without having to spend that much money this round, it kind of hasn't hurt them as much.
Yeah, I mean, that round only hurt them in the sense that they're down 1 more round. I mean, that didn't cost them 2 rounds. That cost them nothing. Oh, nice shot by Forrest there. Opens up on Pasha, who was peeking middle. Once again, a weak start for US. Get Right gets out, takes out Taz, and all of a sudden it's a 3v5, and things looking really, really bad for the Polish side here.
And they need someone. They need a Neo, they need a Taz to just get them that first frag and let them set the agenda. But that hasn't happened yet. Bjarly is going to go looking. He gets himself the headshot onto Get Right. Get Right's been quiet in this game. Maybe those PC issues have come to bite him in the ass. Neo is going to wait for Fiflar in there. He will nade out and force a little bit of movement there, but Neo and Bjarly both on half health. Snacks is lying in wait. Bjarly's going to push out behind here, and he could maybe allow for a three-way gunshot going in, but nope. As soon as I get excited about the fact that he's coming from the rear, he gets dropped.
Yeah, that was a nice shot by Exist, though. Very quick turnaround headshot. It looks like US are going to try to save their weapons once again. That is going to make it 9-2 for NIP, and they're just getting such a big lead that it just, I mean, obviously in the second half, like we always say, things can turn around because teams can do the same thing in the second half themselves with the money system. They can break the other team's bank a whole bunch of times and just get a bunch of free rounds. But when you start trailing with as many rounds as US is going to be trailing 2-9 against the team that is one of the 2 best teams in the world, it's just really tough. Because ideally, when you're playing against a team that is better than you, you want to force them to make more mistakes than they normally do. Because if they make only the normal amount of mistakes and you play to your normal level, you're losing because they're a better team than you. So obviously something different has to happen here. And so far, that is not happening. So far, NIP is winning just as expected.
A little bit of quiet from the NIP side there. No real, I mean, you know this guy's better than I do, but no real kind of like, you know, emotion on their faces. They're 9-2 up, they're looking good, and no one really kind of saying, come on guys, you got this.
Trying to be mellow. Maybe that might be something they're trying out in general, just because I actually noticed NIP had been more vocal, I think in general, than, for example, the old Fnatic team of Get Right and Forest. Like, they were always a pretty quiet bunch. And something we talked about in the latest podcast episode is that when you get really emotional about winning, you also get really emotional about losing. You get on like this crazy roller coaster where when you win a big round, you're on cloud 9, but then when you lose a big round, you're just you're just feeling terrible.
Here we go.
Sometimes it can be easier to just be mellow.
Freiburg opens up with 1 and 2, and that is beautiful. What can you do? He walks in, he dispatches of Snacks with a headshot, and then he just looks left and says, Neo, don't fancy you, out you go. And that instantly forces them into what looks like a defensive position. They're going to save out the weapons, go as far away from them as they can. And that's the end of the round. Freiburg decided it.
Yeah, Freiburg did what he used to do for NIP a whole bunch, getting those important entry frags. Not just one this time either, 2 of them. And he basically just won this round by himself. Right now, Get Right is already on the hunt. He's trying to chase these last 2 counter-terrorists. He already killed Pasha. So now US is only holding on to 1 gun in the hands of Taz. Bialy is not even trying to go for Pasha's gun. He knows NIP are watching it. And we'll see if Taz is able to save this gun. It looks like he will as it takes out Freiburg, but he's still going to see Fiflar in here coming up lane.
Somehow they get away. But that's the moment. Freiburg 1, Freiburg 2. It was really beautiful. Worth watching one more time. And phenomenal stuff. That's how you enter a bomb site, ladies and gentlemen. If you can copy that, you can play here.
That's really nice shots by Freiburg. I mean, that's how he wins rounds for NIP, because sometimes he gets those kills and it's a free round. And every now and then he may get 1 that may already be a free round. Sometimes he might only die, but if he gives good information to Forest coming in and he gets those kills, they still win the round.
Pushing up on Banana, you see 3 or 4 players going in, and Exist will open up, and Johnny Snacks is out. And this save round with that 1 weapon has already started badly for US. NIP not really following that one up. They're just trying to clear out every avenue. They've not committed to going towards the B site. Bomb still sits back just on the exit from spawn. And for your money here, I mean, is this NIP being brilliant or being good, as we would expect them to be, or US disappointing you?
NIP is playing well. I mean, they look like they're well prepared, and they're just playing good Counter-Strike. And when they play good Counter-Strike, and they've been hitting a bunch of shots too, which is obviously a key factor. When they do that, there's very little teams can do against them, and we've seen that here so far. It's a very dominant half. US hasn't really had many close rounds they could have won. I mean, almost all the rounds NIP have won, they've just been clearly the better team, and it wasn't even close. Aside from the Pista round, which coincidentally is the one that just completely set the tone for this entire half.
For NIP, they look like a well-oiled machine right now. Every move, even on this save round, is a coordinated move. They're so patient. They don't want to throw anything away. This is a bit of an evolution from them.
Well, the thing is, NIP has always had good communication, and they have good team play. They just don't have a lot of set strats that they can rely on. So the problem comes in when they play against teams who are equally skilled or more skilled than they are, because once they don't hit their shots, or they're getting out-aimed, even when they're playing well themselves, all of a sudden they don't have anything to fall back on, because they don't have those very well-planned strats with different flashes and nades clearing out areas. They just simply haven't had that previously. We'll see if they're prepared some of that for very games here. But if these teams can match NIP on an individual skill level, then they don't really have a lot to go for them unless they can just stop NIP as a team. And so far, NIP has been the team with much better team play in this game.
When you're losing, Counter-Strike can be a long and lonely road. And for Universal Soldiers thus far, if I look down on them, they look like they've been here for hours, and they look very lonely. Not much communication between the guys there. You can see Neo on the end, just head on his arm. He doesn't want to carry on. He's just like, all right, this has been a horrendous
Let's call it a day.
Yeah. Let's get us on to the next game, because the next game will decide the group. Remember the way this is played out. You have to win 2 to go through. So Universal Soldiers not out by a long shot, and here we go. It's going to be Freiburg to just poke his head around the corner. Was blinded, and thus has fallen back. And we see the kind of, what I'd say, standard NIP from what we've seen. They'll drop the bomb here. They'll send 2 up Banana. They'll send 2 up mid, and just see if they find anything. And if they don't, they'll default back to one of the 2 sides. And this time it's going to be B. They've got 3 players up on the catwalk with the bomb moving all the way up there. It's going to be a push coming in now. Freiburg leads the charge. Neo, though, dispatches of him with the help of Snacks. And Neo is going to charge through the smoke to open up onto one more. There's Neo. Exist gets himself 1. Snacks is out, but there's only 2 players left standing for NIP. It's a 4-on-2. Fiflaren's trying to do something about that, but he can't. Exist was taken out by Pasha. And Get Right, it's time for him to deliver, as he's been somewhat subdued in this game by his high standards. And Pasha will wait. Waiting for him to go through, and there's Pasha for frag number 2. Can he finish off the hat-trick on the Get Right, but having spied the bomb down, he knows he's got to stay there. Neo out for the count, courtesy of Get Right, and Get Right has a hat-trick. He does deliver! This is sensational stuff from Get Right. 1 on 4, and he just can't finish it off.
That's one. Sensational. That's one. Over under.
Do you disagree? Was that not sensational? Are you not entertained?
I'm very entertained, but it would have been sensational if he won that round. Very entertained, but I want to save sensational. I'm saving it.
Okay.
Still.
Phenomenal stuff from Get Right.
Phenomenal stuff. I'm good with phenomenal.
Okay. So round 1 from Universal Soldiers. Let's not lose sight of that.
Yeah, that's round number 3. If they get 4th round here, win the second half piss round, we're back in business. So we'll just see what the Polish side choose to do here. Once again, that was pretty tough on their economy, losing those people at the very end of the round to Get Right. If they were able to just take Get Right out instantly, this would have been a whole lot easier as a round for them because they would have had money to buy more nades, better armor, all the good stuff.
And here we go. It's going to be Get Right to lead the assault. He's been quiet because actually in the attacks that they've done, he's not really been called upon. He's often been the man left to lead a solo push in one side, but he showed he's more than capable and more than on top form. Pasha will exchange frags, and we're down to a 4-on-4. Taz is between a rock and a very, very hard Swedish place. And he starts with a frag, tries to get himself out of trouble. He's just dancing around in front of Forrest through the smoke. Forrest is going to charge around the corner, but Taz has escaped in towards the side. Now here comes Forrest, looking towards that side, and he will... Oh, Taz left lonely there. No one helping him out. The push was always coming A. And you can see that they were so slow to get some support to him. And the bomb will be planted, and the round should go to NIP, which would take us to a 12-3 halftime score. As Johnny, don't want to write him off, but if he does this, I will eat Thorin's Lakers jacket.
Oh, you might have to fight him for it too, to get it off of him. Snacks left, 1v2 now.
Not going to get it. I don't have to eat it. It's okay.
and top fragger for the first half for the entire servers Exist 15-8. Number 2 Forrest 12-5. Number 3 Get Right 13-9. He had a slow start, but he definitely warmed up towards the end there.
Yeah, he got 2 exit rounds on the round where they 2 exit frags on the round where they tried to escape out, and then he helped himself to 4 that previous round. You see the Universal Soldiers, and there, that is a look of I don't want to be here.
No, they don't want to be here on this server. They want to be a DreamHack, and they want to start with the next match because they obviously still have a very good chance of beating Recursive, potentially advancing as the number 2 seed in this group to face Fnatic in the quarterfinals, which are going to be right after. Both quarterfinals are now going to be played simultaneously to avoid further delays. And, you know, there's 10 grand guaranteed money on the line just for passing group stage. So,
and you can guarantee that whichever game we don't do on the main stage won't be delayed. Anders' games on Stream 2, none of them delayed. He knows what he's talking about. And we'll see. So we have a 12-3. We're going to spy. Bit of any talk coming out there. I'm looking down at the Universal side here. They're really just, even the managers walked away.
Universal Soldiers are just, they look so down on themselves. They just, like, all of them are just kind of sitting like this, slouched, and just staring down at their screen.
And from their perspective, so would I be, because they used to be at this level. They used to be the top dogs. So to have to go through what they've gone through just to try and scrape out of the group is a real struggle. There they are on camera. Not loving life. And here you see Heaton offering his advice just to try and guide those teams through, guide his young chargers through. You know what amazes me in Sweden? Look at Heaton's tan. It's freezing out there. Where did he get that tan?
Oh, gee, I don't know. It didn't originate from the sun. At least not in Sweden. I think that's safe to say.
So, not sure whether we have a delay or not, because we're going to go live. In fact, here for the pistol in 3, 2, 1. Any hope for Universal?
There's still hope. It's never over, especially with guys like Taz and Neo here. But, you know, it's one round at a time, and we can't even talk about a game before they're at 10 or more rounds. They need to get to double digits.
No pressure, guys. No pressure. We're on board with Neo. He has shown glimpses of his former self. as they make the push in towards B, and there are 3 players waiting for them, and those 3 start to unleash. It's going to be Neo that leads the charge around. He gets himself frag number 1. Pasha has frag number 2, but Get Right's doubles connect, and here we go. Get Right at the double once more. It's another hat trick. PERIPHERALS will get frag number 4, and Get Right gets number 5. NIP turn on the style, and there's a round of applause for Get Right. Where did the fans come from for a round of applause?
I think they just woke up from a bit of a coma from watching NIP just run over US in the first half, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, new half, guys? Guys?
I've not heard a single clap for anything we've seen all day long, and suddenly from somewhere, I hear it.
Well, we know Swedes are massive homers, so it doesn't surprise me that Get Right is the one who's going to be getting the loudest claps, but, I mean, that was a sick round by him. It really looked like US were going to simply run over NIP's defense in the B side after those 2 entries, and Get Right, once again, single-handedly just turned the round around with those 4 dually kills.
Here we go. Get Right's going to be called into action once more. Here's frag number 1, 2, 3. Freiburg is going to help him out. And Get Right's on form. And it's 14-3. And the crowd have awoken to the sound of Swedish fragging. And there is nothing more beautiful, except maybe for an English team winning something in any type of sport or e-sport. But that just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you're dreaming again. I know you said you're tired, but let's be realistic with your dreams. I feel like it's just a letdown otherwise.
We had good CSS teams. Anyway.
No comment. Okay, we're back here with another save round, or actually, yeah, another save round.
But it's a crucial one, because if Universal Soldiers don't get it, we're on to match point.
Yeah, indeed. So, I mean, this round, assuming nothing crazy happens here, is already going to give NIP match point at 15-3. So, right now, US are looking at Mount Everest to climb as their first mountain ever.
Yeah, they've got themselves the first 2. Last 2 players are going to go, the first 3. Last 2 players are going to go charging up Banana. And actually, they're just trying to wait on Banana, see whether anyone would chase them out. They haven't done. They turn around and they're now going to come up mid. Bomb sucked down, and Bjarli and Pasha are just like, well, let's just fire some bullets and see what happens. And they get themselves a frag. It's Get Right that goes down. But that scant consolation. Bjarli has himself 1 more on to exist, and Pasha still on some form of health. Forrest pokes his head up and finds himself the last kill. We are on 12 match points, ladies and gentlemen. My bet is that we only need 1 of them.
Yeah, that's where the smart money is. Or we'll see how smart the money is that we just put there, but that's what I would also say. Universal Soldiers do have a ton of money now, obviously, because they double saved on the terrorist side. But the problem is, even if they get on a roll and start winning, it's just really hard to imagine them winning 12 straight rounds, because eventually something small is going to go wrong, or one of the NIP players is going to catch fire and just kill 3 people. And US can no longer afford that, because NIP already has match point.
Get Right doesn't need to catch fire. He's already on it.
Yeah.
But US keep the pace slow, which we didn't see from them at all in this game. Whenever they've had a gun round, it's just like, I'm Neo, I'm Taz, I'm good, I'm amazing, I'm going to go do this on my own. Oh, it didn't work. And we'll see. NIP going to have an attack coming up from Banana in towards his B site. They're all up there. We've only got 1 player watching the rear, and he's starting to make his way up. And this is either going to be really beautiful or it's going to be really quick, as Freiburg is the man standing between Poland and victory here as he darts back. Will grenade out. First frags are going to come the way of Snacks, and Get Right's had to quickly come back. Get Right, who was previously nestled in that site. This was the one time that they only had 1 player in B. Bomb has been planted, and Snacks is going to be the one watching the players coming in from the building side as he buys him weight. He's got 2 there for him. He's got reinforcements on the right. PERIPHERALS gets Nip's first frag for the round, and here come reinforcements. PERIPHERALS frag number 2 with that famous power. Taz has been down, and here goes Snacks around the corner. Opportunity knocks to Snacks, and it'll be Get Right that reminds us all what he can do. And Get Right from the side with the help of PERIPHERALS should mop up Neo, but Neo is saying 1 more chance, 1 more stand. Neo delivers, and Universal Soldiers will fight on. It's 15-4.
They live to see another round.
And he doesn't look too happy about it. He's just gone clutch in the sight, and he still looks like he knows what the score is.
Yeah, I mean, you always, ideally, it's almost a cliche to say you take it one round at a time, but it's actually really hard when you're a player to completely ignore the score and just play almost as if you were in a vacuum and you're just playing a single round. Because when you think about it, you can win 12 rounds in a row against NIP. Like, can you win 12 single rounds? Of course you can. They just have to be consecutive at the right time. But it's just really hard to not think about the big picture.
The big picture is dangerous for the Poles. But let's get excited. Let's believe in the underdog. Let's believe in the Easter Bunny. Because if they were to win 12 consecutive rounds, I'd sure as hell lose my voice.
That'd be sensational.
That would be. As we're only damage we've seen has gone to Freiburg, who's lost 45 points of health, as Universal Soldiers have slowly edged up the middle.
Once again, a slow round by the Poles, by the way. Very slow start to the round. And unfortunately for them, Freiburg has pushed up all the way into Banana, so NIP has 4 players defending the A side. It's going to be really hard for US to take over the site.
As that first smoke exists, is immune to it. Pasha opens up the first frag. Bomb has been planted in A. They got in, and NIP said, that's fine, come in. We'll come in after you. And there's Forrest. Beautiful frag going in onto Johnny, and it'll be Forrest to try and clear out here as he's got 2 players there. Fiflaren's going to go for the next frag. It's Taz that's there. Here goes Neo pushing forward. He can't get through. Yes, he can. Fiflaren's there, and there's the defuse. Forrest have finished up the round. NIP, to the rapturous round of applause, have picked up their first win. Get Right gets the high fives and leads the charge. And the map goes the way of NIP. They're through, as expected, into the knockout stages.
Yeah, and it's actually good to see the crowd here, because I just realized this is still the first day of DreamHack. So obviously there's going to be more and more people coming in. And by the end of tonight, probably everybody who's going to be here for BYOC is going to be here, but we're going to get more visitors tomorrow and especially Saturday. So, you know, the crowd is only going to get louder from here, and that's a great thing.
And online, 60K plus viewers on this one. So
almost at 70K there by the end. That's pretty solid.
So a lot of people looking to enjoy and NIP deliver. We can see the handshakes going on beneath us. We're not going to throw over to our analysis just yet. I took a look over. They've decided they're gonna just chill. You know, those guys, they've got it easy. They've got it easy. We got the hard work over here. We got to fill. They're
not the ones being left around for 20 minutes to talk about nothing.
We didn't talk about nothing. We talked about who did your hair.
Yeah.
We talked about your favorite music. I mean, that was interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Next, we got lined up.
We were able to make it interesting. Super interesting. So much, in fact, that only 4 out of 5 questions in the chat were asking when the match is going to start.
So, as we lie in wait, the next time we have to fill, we will just do rock, paper, scissors. But fortunately, slightly more interesting than that, NIP's victory is followed up by BSL.
Welcome back. This is BSL from the DreamHack SteelSeries CSGO Championship studio. Here's some results for you from Group B. Universal Soldiers won against iBuyPower 16-9. NIP beat Recursive 16-13. Recursive beat iBuyPower 16-8, thus sending the Americans back home. And just in, NIP beats Universal Soldiers 16-4. I'm still joined here by Thorin and Sir Scoots. We talked a lot about this matchup between the Polish team and NIP. The long storylines here between the star players, Taz, Neo, Forrest, Get Right. It turned out to be a universal beating for Universal Soldiers. What did you think about the match, Scoot?
Well, I mean, I obviously didn't call that right at all. You were a little closer with scoring, at least, but I thought it was going to be a very close match. And from the get-go, it wasn't at all. Get Right almost made it even worse. There were 2 or 3 rounds that he was, 1 kill away from coming on the other side of a 1v3 and a 1v2, which would have been even more of a stomp, right? So, impressive play by NIP, especially considering they were the ones with the technical issues. Get Right's computer got swapped out a few times. Now,
he was definitely not flustered by that.
No, I mean, obviously they found his dream rig. He might want to take that thing home now. But then you wonder, right? Did that ice Universal Soldiers? Was that too long? Did that hurt their momentum? Obviously, didn't work out well for them. Didn't expect it at all.
Thorin, even though this was a blowout, 16-4, NIP got both pistol rounds, and there were some rounds. I wouldn't say they were close, but the Universal Soldiers were on the verge of sort of gaining some sort of traction. I got the pistol round here on the first half when NIP were T. That's what I'm thinking of. And I think it was the 5th round when Neo missed some shots on Forest. What did you think about Neo's game?
Don't think my mic. Okay.
Yeah.
So Neo's game was a bit off. That was the big problem. I mean, you saw there the first pistol round's the one we really noticed, because we were saying Neo has to be a key here. For them to beat NIP, they're going to need all the stars to come out, you know. Neo immediately was off his game, because one of the things about Neo is there are star players who their job is just get a lot of frags, but they don't have to necessarily win 1vx situations. That's why you can have utility players who just win the 1vx situations. But Neo was a player who was famously very clutch, you know, even in the big situations. It came to him naturally. He had like a flow in the game. Everything was off in that game for Neo. He zigged when he should have zagged. He had this situation in the pistol round. I hope we're going to show this round now. So let's watch this. Oh, actually, wait a second. Before we start here, I think this has already skipped forwards a bit, because look at the time, not very much time left. We'll go forwards and we'll see how it goes. So 1v1 right now. Freiberg versus Neo. Bomb is on the floor, as you can see. So look at this. Look at the health going down for Freiberg. Full health for Neo
Neo's
still.
at 100 health.
So now, what is... Look, he knows he's there. Now listen, normally the player might keep down there and try and plant the bomb. Instead, Freiberg goes for it. But what was Neo doing there? Look, it looked as though he wasn't doing anything, but he was shooting, he was stopping, he was shooting, he was stopping. It's like, well, yeah, we'll see it again. So remember, the player here, it looks like, because we know he gets the kill, we're only thinking about what he's thinking about. What you have to realize is he's trapped behind this box, and Neo knows he's trapped there. So all Neo has to do is wait for the angle, and once he gets the angle, he gets the kill. Whereas that guy doesn't know when he's going to peek out. He knows when he's going to peek at him.
And it also looks like Neo is forced to reload here before he gets killed.
He misses so many shots. And he really kind of whiffed it. Like, you could tell, I think he knew he'd hurt him from before, and he thought to himself, if I just spam here, I'm going to get the kill. And a player like Neo, with his level of composure, you expect him to just, you know, smooth technique.
It was a very, very strange mistake on account of a star player like Neo.
And when you start the game like that, and then you get stomped, you're like, we're never even got a chance, you know. So we've got another clip here, the other pistol round, and it's NIP just shining here.
I'd say Get Right's shining here.
Well, in particular. And so on the other side here, we saw what the star player for the Universal Soldiers couldn't do much on their pistol round. Well, let's see what the star player over here on NIP does. So, okay, there's one headshot with the dual Berettas, another one. Well, that's just a kill. There's another headshot, and I think in the end he got 4, I think, overall. So, yeah, we'll watch it again, but as I'm going, I'll tell you what was going on.
Nope.
So basically, Neo had the situation where he blew the one-on-one. Get Right went crazy on his replay, got all these kills. I was saying before, Neo needed to be the factor for them. But I've been saying every time we've talked about NIP so far, Get Right is the factor that has to be there for NIP to win. And in this game, this is the Get Right I'm used to seeing. This is Get Right who can go God mode. Like I said, when Get Right goes full on, it's almost like doesn't matter how you play. So even moments when Taz would play nice or Pasha would have a bit, it doesn't matter. And
this was extremely impressive from Get Right as well, because the Polish team got the first 2 frags coming in, and he was under a lot of pressure there, cramped up at the back of that site, and he takes out 4 players. Came up huge for his team, and like you're saying, Neo is supposed to be the Ronaldo or the Messi of the Polish teams, and he didn't come close in this match.
I mean, that highlights, by the way, how well NIP were playing there. They won 16-4, so you'd think, okay, blowout totally. Well, they even had rounds that they lost. Out of the 4 rounds they lost, they had chances to win. Get Right had that amazing 1v3 he almost made. It was a 1v2. He was headshot. That shouldn't have even been winnable, you know. So they could have been 16-1 here. So NIP totally rolling. United Soldiers all over the place, but luckily for them, with the way the group's going, now we're going to see, are they going to get through in second anyway?
Yeah, and the last part of my notes here from this game says, WTF Poland. Where do they go from such a disappointing performance? I'm pretty sure they're very, very disappointed with how they played this match. Where do they go from here?
I mean, I told you, the problem is, NIP have lost on Inferno. They've never lost ever to Universal Soldiers. So for Universal Soldiers, it's like, okay, well, that was our old team. You know, we stuck with it too long. Get some new blood in here. And you think, oh, we have a nice result over here. We have a nice result over here. Coming into the top dogs, completely smacked down again. So either you're just going back to the drawing board and you're like, right, figure out a new way to make this team work, or do you make another roster move? What do you do here? Do you never play Inferno against them again? See, it's hard to weigh up the factors here. You don't know what to do. And again, when a team's that superlative, sometimes you can't figure it out. It's out of your hands, you know.
And iBuyPower is going home. NIP is moving forward. that means that we have one more berth in the playoffs, and we're going to change focus now.